Yes. Oh, I am sorry. The mayor actually needs to call the meeting to order too.
We will give you.
To order this meeting at 5:02 p.m. 5:03 p.m. And then do we need to go in camera?
We need to confirm the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda.
So this is, Your Worship, this is the budget meeting. In camera's after this meeting.
Okay.
So we'll actually be moving into committee of the whole once council adopts the agenda.
So are there any emergent items for the agenda? Seeing none, then Councillor Colville has a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor? And then motion to go in camera.
Into committee, Your Worship.
Okay, we need a motion to go into committee of the whole. We have a motion from Councillor Peterson, all in favor? And we're now in committee of the whole. Thank you.
Your Worship, we are holding our budget meeting in public. We were not holding it in camera this evening. Okay. So I'm sorry. So as I said, this is our last meeting that we have scheduled to discuss our budget and our operational plan for 2021. Tonight we're going to be going over our operational budget, our corporate plan focus areas, our capital budget, and then we have a number of decisions that we would like council to make this evening. So as you can see, this is our timeline that we've kind of presented you with throughout this whole process. Tonight we are on the 2021 and operating and capital budget, and as you can see, we're also hoping tonight that we can get adoption of the budgets and work plan. So this is what I'm presenting is here. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully there's not numbers on there.
I will try and zoom for you, but we don't have a lot of numbers included in this. So our acting CAO has a few things to say.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm pleased to inform you that your administration has worked hard to bring forward a corporate plan that is balanced and represents a 0% tax increase to the ratepayer. Tough decisions had to be made, and all managers took a corporate approach as to what was in the best interest of the town. I would like to thank the entire management team for their hard work and dedication to the town. I would specifically like to acknowledge Lisa, Matt, and Erica for all their hours in drafting the plan that's put together before you. Now I'd like to speak to some of the specifics of the plan. Firstly, I'd like to recognize the provincial federal governments for the operating stimulus fund referred to as MOSS in the amount of $1.6 million for Strathmore. Without this funding, the town of Strathmore, and nearly every other municipality in the province would have been in dire financial straits. There would have been a substantial deficit to the town as a result of COVID, if not for this support. We will speak to the utilization of these funds later in our presentation. Administration has taken into consideration directions from Council on recovery actions as a result of COVID, strategic plan directions, service area changes, and included all of these in the 2021-2023 corporate plan. We are confident that all these items have been addressed. We will present you with draft motions to deal with all the specific decisions that need your approval. Firstly, I'd like to report that we have reduced our overall staffing complement by 14.21 positions, a significant cost saving to the municipality. We are confident that this has been accomplished without any impact to service levels or delivery. We have right-sized the organization, and that is huge, Mr. Mayor, 14 positions less than last year. With the relocation to the new Strathmore Municipal Building, we are recommending that Council direct administration to proceed with the listing of the Town Hall and a portion of this site to be listed for sale with a realtor. Otherwise, you're going to have some group knocking on your door that wants here on a temporary basis, and there's nothing more permanent than a temporary. Administration is recommending that the HUB program be discontinued immediately and replaced with a different format for delivering youth programming. The HUB program has been on hold for some time now due to COVID, and the building has some occupational health and safety issues. Now is the time to reassess the delivery of youth programs. We would start with a comprehensive inventory of the options and partners available to the town. Your direction will be sought in the next couple of months on the future of youth programming. Administration is currently drafting a lease with the owners of the Standard Shoe Store building. This building will become a storefront for many non-profit groups within our community, as well as becoming a catalyst for boosting downtown. The cost of the town will be minimum, with huge benefits to the community and even greater benefits to the downtown core. Town employees have not had a salary increase for 2 years now, so we have included a 1.5% COLA salary increase effective July 1st, 2021. Administration has not addressed membership in the Canadian Badlands Tourism Association, and this will be addressed at the time we are approached for membership. The handy bus operation has been left as status quo in the corporate plan until such time as more information is received from the board, and their annual meeting is coming up very shortly. Currently, we have a vacant watch clerk position at the RCMP detachment. We have been operating for a few months now with this position vacant, and we do not feel that the town is in a financial position to fill this vacancy at this time. The town has received a request from the local Canadian Legion branch for snow removal from their sidewalks. However, administratively, we do not support this request. Our perspective is that this could start a movement to undertake snow removal for many groups within our community. We have already heard some negative comments about the request even coming from the Legion as to why they would do it. Mr. Mayor and Council, as you've heard me say, this is a very tight budget. Any additional initiatives that you discuss tonight that you want to bring to the table will result in a tax increase. I want to make that very clear. Anything you bring to the table tonight will result in a tax increase. Now let's proceed with the presentation on the corporate plan. Jen? Nell, you're up first.
Results of the 2021 budget. The 0% property taxes for residential and commercial have come, as previously noted, as a result of the reduced FTE count and the most operating grant from the province. The maximization of the franchise fee, that is referencing an increase to the natural gas franchise fee with ATCO, increasing from the current 29.6% to the 35%, the provincial maximum. This will increase the average residential user's monthly bill by $2.30 based on an annual usage of 115 gigajoules. An increase in the utility fees of 2% and an increase in the infrastructure utility reserve of $1.50 per month. The scheduled debt at December 31st will be $24,154,000, and the debt percentage utilized will be in the range of approximately 53 to 55%, depending on total revenue for the 2020 year. The town has a policy of full cost recovery for utilities, and in 2019 recovered all utility costs without reliance on property taxation paying for utilities. This remains the case for the current year and for the 2021 year. The 2% increase will defray the increase in costs for both EPCOR and other inflationary cost increases. The 2% utility fee increase, the $1.50 infrastructure reserve fund increase, and franchise fee increase of $2.30 combined equates to a total monthly increase of $6.68 for the average property homeowner for this budget 2021 year.
So as you can see here, we're presenting a balanced budget. For 2021, we had revenues of $31.6 million and expenses of $34.7 million. We have three balancing items, as you can see. We have a net transfer into our reserves of $36,000, debt repayments of $2.1 million, and we have an add back of our amortization. So this add back is a non-cash item, so it's added back. Please note that we are transferring $223,000 from the financial stabilization reserve to balance this budget. So it's part of that reserve transfer. So here's our revenue slide. We have an increase in revenue, and this is due to our increase in government transfers for operating. We have the most government grant, which is $182,000, and we're also bringing in MSI to cover our loan payments for the town hall, and this is $812,000. As Mel mentioned before, we have a 2% increase in our utility rates, and an increase in the infrastructure reserve levy of $1.50 per month. We also have an increase in the franchise fees, which he mentioned. Our expenses are $34.7 million. This is a projected increase of 2%. The increase is mainly due to contracted services, which increases by about 5%, but it's offset by a decrease in salaries, which Doug mentioned before, of 4%. A couple other items to mention here is our interest, which is included in the expenses, is increasing by $150,000 due to our increased debt that we've taken on in 2020. And the adjusting items, the other operating budget items, so below the expense line, the thing to note there is we have an increase in debt principal repayments of $600,000. And again, that's due to our increase in debt that we took out.
So as you can see, the totally FTE equivalent is dropping 17.86. Sorry, I had the number wrong in my earlier presentation. Positions from 2020. And we're going to have council adopt this as part of the corporate plan. And what that means is administration cannot increase any positions without coming back to council for your approval. So we can't add an administrative position of any type without getting council approval.
So here's a slide. Oh,
Do you want to save the questions till you're finished?
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what percentage of overall budget now staffing takes in with the 17.5 positions that are cut. Do you have a number of percentage overall?
We can get that for you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, no rush at all. It's just a good indicator.
so
Through you, Mr. Mayor, would you like that a comparison?
I think I have the number
I know what
here.
the old one was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Lisa will be able to provide you with that.
Yeah, so salaries and wages accounts for 36% of our total budgeted expenses.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, this is my slide. I know, but
One thing we need to note is that the handy bus positions are included in that FTE. So depending on the decision that comes after their annual meeting, that number could go down further.
So this is a slide showing you where the most funding is going to and what we're applying it to. We've received $1.375 million from the province. As you can see from this slide, we're spending or we're utilizing 1.2 million of this in 2020. So this is making up our lost revenues and the additional expenses that we've incurred because of COVID. We've included the remaining amount in 2021, which is 182,000. Even with this most funding that we've included in the budget, we still have a deficit of 223,000, and that's being covered by our financial stabilization reserve.
Thank you, Lisa. I think we have a question. Councilor Montgomery.
Thank you. So I have just a couple questions. One is has to do with the COVID money that we borrowed. Like in anticipation that we are going to recoup, some of the money that we were risking, let's say, like the property taxes and whatnot. We're going to be putting that money that we are going to be getting to pay that debt down sooner rather than later.
Yes, we can pay the debt down at an appropriate time when we have sufficient working capital into the future. We have a 1-year term on that loan from the date of draw. So it'll depend on our cash flow and moving ahead into next year.
So it won't be like it won't be based on like how much taxes we take in this year, for instance.
No, it'll be entirely based on, do we have sufficient cash in the bank to pay our bills and meet our obligations moving forward?
I guess like another question I have is, so with regards to the property tax revenue, I see that we're basically banking on the same amount coming in as last year. And if we're doing a 0%, then are we anticipating that there will be any fluctuation in property values?
If the assessed values go down within the town, the mill rate goes up to offset the decrease in the assessment values.
Yeah. So, I guess what I'm wondering is, it looks like we're anticipating them to stay the same. What effect will that have, I guess? So what will be our plan if property values do drop and we've already passed the 0%?
The plan would be that if assessed values go down, mill rates go up. So the town preserves the net taxes.
If I could jump in, I know the actual real estate value is not, it's usually higher than the assessed value, but I've seen some figures from the Realtor group in town that shows property values have gone up since the fall of 2019. So that could put us in a good situation as far as our assessment values as well. I know that the real estate market is higher. Its value is higher than what you're assessed at. But if that value has gone up on the real estate market, then our assessment should at least stay the same, if not go up a little bit, the assessed values. If that helps at all.
I don't expect, Mr. Mayor, that you're going to see much of a decline in assessment values.
Okay, so like we're not anticipating having to borrow the difference or something like that.
No.
Based on that, when do we decide if they need to increase assessment values? Do they come back to us and say, hey, your assessment is too high, and we evaluate, or is that every year?
The assessed values that will be used for the 2021 tax rate bylaw are the values at the end of this year.
So do we have someone that does go out and assess each property at the end of December?
We have an ongoing process for that. It's not right at the end of the year. Our process continues year-long, but it is based on the values at December 31st.
The MGA regulates the assessment as to when it's completed, et cetera.
If I can, one final one final point that I wanted to raise. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for this this package. It's the best one I've seen so far. Something that I found interesting to learn was that with regards to the franchise fees, is that the total assessed value for exempt properties, so that means properties in town that we cannot tax, is approximately 10% of the total assessment. So that's actually like, and this is obviously, I'm saying this for the public, that's obviously a fairly substantial amount that we are foregoing, but that we're still providing services to. So it is beneficial for us to be able to recoup some of that non-assessable property through franchise fees. Thank you.
So the long-term financial plan was adopted in concert, originally in concert with the 2017 budget in December of 2016. This is the fifth iteration of this document. Each year we have tried to refine this document. The amendments inserted into the plan provides additional guidance for administration, council, and the public with the additional points that are listed on that slide and are included in your package. The first 4 points are self-explanatory, but point 5, the 20% of the annual budget of approximately $35 million equates to $7 million. The town should work towards having an unrestricted surplus and financial stabilization reserve. These funds are to have adequate working capital to meet ongoing cash requirements for both operating and capital budgets without having to borrow for operating needs. At the end of last year, we had approximately $300,000 in financial stabilization and accumulated surplus. So we were well short of the 20% or $7 million. And so that is a goal to work towards. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that we need to work towards.
So the next part of our presentation has to deal with our corporate plan from administration. Under this plan, we reviewed this section with council at our last budget meeting. Within this plan are the different departments, and we've included the focus areas and service level changes for those departments. Also, within the plan, we've also included the financial impact of the focus areas and service level changes that we are proposing. All of those have been included in the budget as it's being presented to you. So at this point, we've reviewed this with council. If there's any questions on any of the areas, we can take those at this point. Otherwise, we can just move through this section. There's been no changes. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, my question is about the transfers to individuals and organizations, and it just has to do with, like, so I understand that we've changed, and I know this isn't your bailiwick, Jen, but I understand that we've kind of changed the way we give money to the library, and so we've increased the transfers to local boards and agencies by 320,000. Oh wait, no, it's 300. Yeah, 320. But we've decreased on the other side by 113. So we've essentially increased the total by 207. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you just tell us what page you're on?
So it's page 32 of 109, and then following on the following page. And so I just wanted, like, I was just wondering about where that increase was coming from.
Is that better? Okay. So what we've done is we've budgeted for the handy bus a bit differently as well.
Okay.
So that's what the majority of it is. Before, what we would do is we'd have a revenue and expenses with the handy bus, but
Okay.
it's really not the town's revenue and expenses. So what we owe to the handy bus is $175,000 for the grants, right? So
Yep.
that's how it's being recorded this year. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So also within the plan that we've presented to you and that you have a copy of, we've included our department profiles. And so every department area has its own organizational structure for council to see. You will see some changes in the organizational structure. That is based upon the reduction in staff or FTEs that we have proposed and that we've done, as well as reorganizing other areas to meet the needs of the organization due to that. So on this slide here, you can see it's the org chart for the entire organization, but you can get into more detailed areas within the report.
Sorry, Jennifer, I just had a quick question. On page 34 of the other operating budget items, you say Economic Development Reserve, and you've got $85,000 from reserves, but then further on, where we actually talk about the Economic Development Officer, you have 100.
So yes, Your Worship. So we have budgeted for $100,000 for an economic development officer. We have funded most of that from
Okay.
the reserve of $85,000, the rest from other operating.
Okay, thank you.
So our 2021 capital spend is for $7.5 million. I just wanted to highlight here that we received $1.6 million of MSP funding. And this is the new funding from the Alberta government. And we are fixing the aquatic center and family center roofs, and we are using this for the ramp program. So they're fixing Thistle Way and George Freeman Trail with this.
So are there any questions on the capital projects from anyone?
Councillor Corbeil?
Is this the part where we can go through some of these? Is that what you're wanting? And we'll just pick, okay. I did have one question. I know it says that we replaced the lights on the blue side of the arena in 2016, and I know we did have issues with them last year, and I thought they were fixed. They were at one time anyway. I don't know why we're replacing them again. I just would like to actually see if, like, I know warranty was up last year, and that's why we got them replaced, but in my mind, if we just got them all replaced and they're bad again, I would like to see if we could get money from the company rather than out here. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and the reason I'm smiling is that was our goal, but the company is gone. They've folded and left, so now we have to find a new supplier, and that's why.
They're bad again this year, I assume?
Yeah, they're failing.
Thank you.
Any other questions for them on the capital initiatives? The only one I had, maybe to Doug, is on page 107, the Brentwood Reservoir decommissioning. Is it essential that we did it in 2021? I know it says that they recommend an engineering inspection at year 4. I mean, that's a lot of money, but if the structure, if the reservoir is failing, I understand that as well.
Mr. Simpson, are you able to answer that?
Sorry. Probably I can't answer that, to be quite honest with you. I do know that our manager of infrastructure felt it was necessary to move forward with, doing the work there, I could get hold of them and try to get you an answer, a definite answer on that.
Well, you know, it's not my expertise area at all, so if you've got experts saying that it's recommended to start to look at decommissioning that and to, is that going to, that's going to lead us eventually to a more eastern reservoir, isn't it? Down like 5-6 years from now?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
So, Your Worship.
Yep.
May I follow up on that? You know, we've had lots of conversations around, you know, since I've been here and probably long before I was here, on the decommissioning of the Brentwood Reservoir. And I really, and I know it probably has to be decommissioned, but in respect of Mel's comments around item 5 in terms of setting reserves and what we're facing into the future, that just seems like an enormous undertaking to be thinking about doing a replacement on the east side of town, even in the next 10 years after what we've gone through with COVID. And I really see that as being just a major, major mountain to climb.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll get information back to council on this. I know we did quite a bit of work on it 5 years ago.
Yeah, we did the pillars in it. and-
Yes, and so we'll research that and we'll respond to council very quickly.
Just thinking about balancing off, you know, whether there is more life in it. If there isn't, there isn't.
Yeah.
But looking at the grim future of trying to meet growth needs on the other side of the community might be really tough.
And when I read this, I see that they want to do an engineering inspection that's recommended to
Yeah.
determine the remaining
Yeah.
conditions, so.
There were some things that they didn't feel were worth fixing
Yeah.
when they did it, yeah.
Councillor Sobel?
Thank you. Mr. Legore, I know the RFB crosswalk program is not a huge ticket item. We're scheduled, I guess, for funds to provide one additional crossing for pedestrians each year. I just want to clarify, did we not approve originally 2 crossings per year for this program?
We did.
I think we did, yes.
So we're reducing that to 1, and I was hoping to go to 3. We're a ways away. And I understand the type of year it is. I guess my only plea would be that this is a program that I think is focused entirely on safety of our pedestrians. And as I think everyone realizes, traffic issues are one of our biggest concerns by our residents. So rather than, I'm hoping we could find our way to go at least back to the original approval by council to the 2 crosswalks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll investigate that. We'll try and address that to get it to 2. Jim?
Thank you.
Jim, did you want to jump in?
I did, could we go back to the previous question?
Oh, sure, the Brentwood Reservoir?
Yeah.
Okay.
My trusty manager of infrastructure is in the text here. He just said, for your information, the inspection costs are 2-phased. About 30% of the budget is for the initial inspection. And only if that is indecisive will we spend any further money. So probably looking at about 60,000 to do that first phase to determine the condition.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So it may not be that number that you see there.
That's correct.
Can I go to Councillor Corbeil and then Councillor Montgomery?
Sure, thank you, Worship. I assume I already know the answer to this, but the aquatic roof, it says the expected life is 20 and it's only 17. Are we having issues?
Could you tell me what page you're on, please?
Oh, absolutely. It's the aquatic center roof replacement. I am under project, on the fold-out parts. It's the community facility and functions.
Or page 105 as well.
Oh, page 1?
105.
05?
Page
Is that what it is?
105.
Well, so it's back in this. It's on this
Oh,
page
sorry.
as well.
I'm just going through here because that's where I marked it.
Yeah, page 105, 109, yes, we have to start replacing that roof.
Okay, before we have issues like the arena?
Yeah.
That is fine. And my other one, I'm sure you are gonna be sick of me asking about Live Barn, but is that a big ticket item? That's one thing that I don't know, and so if it's not represented here and we're already expecting it, that was one of my questions.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, it is not a big ticket item. The
Awesome.
question is whether they can keep up with the
Right.
demand to get it installed.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. I'm not asking about install. I was just making sure that there was money for it in
No, funding is not
somewhere.
the issue.
Thank you very
It's
much.
whether they can meet the needs of the
Absolutely.
Alberta community.
Thank you.
Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. So my first question has to do with the half-ton, I'm assuming pickup truck. I'm surprised to learn that we don't have extra pickup trucks kicking around that we need, because didn't we auction a bunch last year or something like that?
Jim?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Montgomery, we seem to have a surplus, obviously, in the winter months of, we need the trucks in the summer months or, with all the parks people that we have on staff. And so it might appear in the wintertime that we have a surplus of trucks, but we also, we move the trucks down the line, so to speak, and we try to get as much out of all the trucks we can. The ones at the bottom are probably not the best vehicles, and some of them, and so what we do is we try to replace them on a rotational basis, and again move the trucks down depending on, because we don't want a brand new truck sitting in the wintertime. So we utilize it. It's given to someone that needs a truck year round.
I had spoken with CAO Thackeray, it was last year, it was before the auction, they had auctioned some off, and he was talking about the need for coming up with a policy of some sort to, to look at when trucks should be kind of replaced, because he was telling me that there wasn't really any sort of it's not based on kilometers or based on number of years, it's just kind of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I will try to answer that because this year, for instance, the trucks are checked by our mechanic for the most part and determine whether they're roadworthy or not. We had a situation this year, I believe, Mel, with your utilities fellow. He had some problems with his truck. We took it in, and the mechanic said, "Listen, this thing shouldn't be used, and if we put money into it, we're just putting good money after bad." And so we need to get a truck to replace that and give him a decent truck to be using.
Right.
So it is difficult because unless you go to a full fleet type system, where you can record fuel usage and record repairs on each of the vehicles, it's very difficult to determine on a yearly basis which trucks you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of. We rely on our mechanic is what we do, and we don't always have all the facts of the cost, but we rely on our mechanic to have that type of enough knowledge that we know when a truck should be replaced.
Okay, thank you. And my final question just has to do with the Kinsman Park Christmas lights. Does these capital costs include, I guess, is this the cost of lights, or is this the cost of installing the lights as well, or?
Someone that's been here a while maybe can help me with that.
Was the question on the Christmas lights?
Yes.
Page 105.
Yes. Each year, we're trying to add money to the program just to increase the lighting, so we're trying to put another $20,000 into Christmas lights.
Okay, and so the install and takedown is on top of that amount then?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I had one question on page 104. It's one that I've spoken of before, and it's the very first point under community and protective services. And
I guess it's a bit of frustration I've had when we were promoting the concept of a new municipal building downtown. One of the selling points and one of the things I had spoken about was the concept that our municipal officers would be right downtown, because there were a lot of problems in the Kinsman Park area that really affected the Lambert Park Village residents. And in that time period, it's kind of changed so that the Protective Services has expressed a wish to move to where the fire hall site is. My question is, that's MSI capital funding, so if that money wasn't spent for that, it could be used for other capital projects, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Okay, so my question is, would there be a similar expense to having Protective Services or the municipal officers go back to that concept of being in the municipal building? Is there room in the building? Would the cost be much lower to have them there? Because they'd only be down the road a little bit from the fire department as far as communications and working together.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with the valued engineering of the new Strathmore Municipal Building, downsizing, there is no room for enforcement services in there. And we feel this is the next best thing, is by putting the cabanas behind the police station. And I really believe that with the town office right there in the park, you're going to have much better security, and it'll be much easier for the residents to put up with what happens in that parking lot. I don't think you'll see it like it was before.
Okay, thank you.
They're on the south side now.
Yeah, they've gone down to the south side. Yeah, down by, unfortunately for Holy Cross, down by the Ball Diamond and there.
Across the lake.
Yes, that's right.
Which
Yeah.
is where Protective Services.
Where our
will.
Protective Services will be closer to them, so that could be good. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, and for the public's benefit, would you mind explaining that in a little bit more common language as far as the size of the building and how that came to be?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with the limited budget we had, and when the tenders came in higher than what we expected, to remain within budget, we reduced the size of the municipal building. And it's a fairly significant reduction in the building to stay within that budget. So we have a lot less space than we originally had planned.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from our counselors at this point? Okay, we can carry on, I guess. 0%.
So are we good to move on then? So I think Mr. Mayor will rise from committee and report out. Or you want to discuss them first, or do you want to just move them and discuss them as we go?
I didn't want to sway from operations, but I know you started this session with a number of issues that council is going to have to make decisions on. So one of the questions I have, and one of them was in regards to RCMP watch clerk, which causes me concern, but it's understandable. But there's also a number of other requests made by the RCMP in regards to 21 budget. Has there been any report done on that, or at this discussion in regards to their asks?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Sobel, we did look at that administratively. It's the multi-year financial plan that was presented by the RCMP. And based on our current financial situation, 2021 is not an option to implement any of those changes. I know they're going to be disappointed, but we are in some dire financial straits, and we just do not have funding to support that.
Thank you, and I take no issue with that. There were some issues that pertain to possible, and I'm saying possible costs in regards to safety, new safety procedures, and obviously those are costs that may come at us if they're implemented.
That's correct.
As part of the contract. Thank you.
And just before you go on, Mr. Legore, if you could turn to page 106. And this question is more probably directed at getting proper information to our public who may be watching tonight. And the question is at the bottom about West Ridge Road rehabilitation. I know people have questions as far as why we plan to do West Ridge Road. And I just would like it if you could, if you or your staff, maybe Jim's involved in this one, if you could speak to the rationale for why West Ridge Road rehabilitation has been chosen, the potential impacts for the town, and the funding sources that can help offset the cost of that we foresee. Could you speak to that, Mr. Simpson? Hate to put you on the spot, but.
Thank you. You know, the road is in front of many of our major commercial businesses along that area. And there's been a safety issue because the trucks are trying to unload, and they're trying to unload on the road. And my understanding was there was a request to have a very close look at what was happening out there. And it was decided that we should move forward, do the road up in such a way, and what we're proposing, or what, after meetings with the business people as well, what's being proposed is, a substantial walkway for pedestrian traffic with a sidewalk, also two-way traffic, plus a third lane that would be on the south side that would be retained for unloading of whatever cars, whatever is necessary, so the people delivering products to our businesses could safely park on the road and be a safety factor, safety for the rest of the residents that are driving on that road. So that was my understanding.
Yeah, and if I could add on that part, and then maybe we could get into the funding of it.
Yes.
One of the things that I'd like to tell the public is people had questioned, well, why do you need to have such measures taken for pedestrian traffic? Well, the thing to remember, if you're watching at home, is that road is very old, it's in terrible condition, and as Mr. Simpson said, there are many businesses along that road who have kind of felt left out in some of the development of the town, that in fact, one of them has told me that that's their main street. We've done a great job on downtown. We did East Ridge Road past the station all the way down to Holy Cross. We've now done Center Street into the Walmart Ranch shopping area. So this area is very visible to the Trans-Canada. There are thousands of vehicular traffic on that road, and it's probably the worst looking road in Strathmore right now. So if we want to showcase the town, we need to improve that and support those businesses. As far as the pedestrians and why we're trying to improve walkability, when that road was first built, there was no Wildflower subdivision, there was no Strathmore Lakes subdivision. So you have so many more people living down there who want to be able to walk and travel to parts of the town by foot. Some of them are waiting for vehicle repairs and tire repairs and things. So they need that ability to walk and walk safely. So that's just for the public who might be at home, or for the media covering why we have chosen West Ridge. It's a showcase. Well, it should be more of a showcase so that we can show that Strathmore is an attractive place to possibly shop and maybe even look around and hopefully move here. So that's the big reason we wanted to improve it. The safety of it was really important. And now, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Simpson, just talking about some of the funding for that project and the overall cost. That's my airplane button.
Okay. The overall cost is just slightly over 2.6 million. And because we're doing some upgrades to the water main, which is required, and the sanitary sewer, which is required because of the commercial industrial properties out there, $540,000 is coming from our off-site levies. And there's for the water, and there's also $540,000 coming from the sanitary sewer system, and the bulk of it, or the rest of it, is 1.55 million, which is coming from the federal gas tax. So, in essence, this project is being funded with no borrowing and no tax dollars per se, Strathmore tax dollars.
Thank you. And are you feeling that you're getting good consensus from the business owners? Because that's really critical as far as what their needs are along that road. And I know the public has been kind of weighing in on things, but one of our main factors is to look at what the business community needs on that road and what's going to help support them. So are you getting a sense that there's some consensus forming?
Yes, we are. Our staff has held at least 2, maybe 3 meetings with the business owners who attended. They don't all show up for the meetings, but we have met with them. It was a bit of back and forth for a while because, we would put forward some proposals and they'd come back and want to do something a little different. I think now we have come up with a plan that is acceptable to the business owners. Now, I'm not going to say 100% because they weren't all there, but my understanding is the ones that did attend that last meeting were in agreement with the option that was chosen. And the option that was chosen was the one I mentioned where there's a third lane for vehicles, delivery vehicles to stop and deliver their product.
Thank you. So for the people watching at home, it's a big ticket item. We think it's an important one to help. It's probably the last major commercial road that needs to be fixed. And if you're able to access this information is available to the public, I'm assuming, the package that we're working with. Then you'll see that a large part of the funds that we're getting to get this road done and to improve the infrastructure is from federal gas tax as well as levies. So that should hopefully put people's minds more at ease. Thank you.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, do you want to rise from committee and then deal with these decision points? Or do you want to discuss them?
Oh, Councillor Cox has a question or a motion?
No, just a question, sorry. I'm going back to, we talked about, you just mentioned that personnel hadn't had an increase in 2 years. Could
Through you,
we,
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
I thought we agreed to a COLA increase last year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, there's been no increase for 2 years.
0?
Yeah, we did 0 last year.
Even the COLA?
The only ones that got a raise last year was council.
COLA?
No, we did a lot better in COLA.
Only because we switched, right?
That was part of it. That was 35,000 of the 64,000.
Because of the way that the government was doing taxes, that's why we switched.
Yeah, I think that added.
The third.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Yeah, I should, sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, the public's going to want to know, and it's good that we have this discussion so that they see what's going on.
Exactly.
There's a $64,000 increase in council costs in 2021, which is significant, but as Councillor Corbeil pointed out, I think 38% of that relates to the non-taxable or the now taxable income from federal government.
Yes?
That's correct.
Okay, so staff hasn't had an increase in 2 years, and all you're asking for is the 1.5 COLA commencing July of 21?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And can I ask a quick question? Is council considered that as well? Would that be a 1 point for council as far as COLA too, COLA increase? The reason I ask is I'm perfectly fine. I know it's just it's a little amount, but I'm perfectly fine freezing it for council. My idea would be to freeze any increase for council. It's a small amount probably because there's only 7 of us, but, so would we be included in that COLA increase?
No.
I don't believe you are.
Okay, perfect, then that's great. Thank you.
Your Worship?
Councillor Peterson?
So the increase is July 1 of 2021, but why wouldn't it be January? What's the reasoning?
It's strictly financial through you, Mr. Mayor. January 1st increases the costs, and we could not afford that
Couldn't do the zero budget,
on the budget, so we put it in as July 1st of 2021.
It's a big sacrifice, Your Worship.
Thank you. So coming back to your question, Mr. Legore, about rise and report, a question for a procedural question. If we rise and report, we're in committee of the whole, would we be moving then to item 9.1 as far as approving the corporate plan and budgets, or is that still to come after we would do these council decisions?
Your worship, so our plan is to ask council to rise and report on a number of decisions, including things like utility levies, et cetera, during the committee of the whole. Then our plan is to present to the public in our regular council meeting this evening and ask council to approve the budgets at that time.
So then for those council decisions, do we have wording prepared as far as motions? I'm not sure if I see them.
We have them on the slides here in front of
Oh, okay. It's like Johnny Carson and his cue cards.
you. Your worship.
Thank you.
Finance, or Lisa's just informed me that council is included in the COLA increase.
Okay, well, my own feeling is it's a small amount, and I know it's not that huge or important, but I think it demonstrates that council is serious about the situation we're in, and that we're not just doing this job for the money. So my own feeling is I would support freezing it, but I guess how does that affect us as far as the budget then, as far as making a motion to accept or amend?
Those kind of ones are good.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, you can make a motion that you freeze council salaries, and then when you adopt the corporate plan, you'll adopt it as amended.
Okay, and so since I can't make a motion, if anyone's prepared to make that motion, then we can discuss that motion and either approve it or not. But I'd like to see that at least on the floor. So you have slides prepared for us, and then do you want us, the best thing then would be to have a motion to rise and report? Thank you very much. Council, you hopefully understand what we need to do.
Report, your worship?
Thank you, as I was left hanging there. Yeah, how long were you guys going to leave me there? It's like Trump waiting for Biden's results.
Funny, not funny.
Funny for Biden, not so funny for Donald. All right, so we have a motion to rise and report. All in favor? Okay, so now we're in committee of the whole, and we've had a motion passed to rise and report.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the first one before you is that council authorize an increase to utility fund from $6 to $7.50 for the purpose of transfer utility infrastructure reserve.
Thank you. So, councilors? Councilor Corbeil.
I move the council authorize an increase to the utility levy from $6 to $7.50 for the purpose to transfer to utility infrastructure reserve.
Thank you, and is there any discussion on that? Just for me, before I'll come to you, just for, again, for the public at home and the media, we are trying to create an infrastructure reserve so that as we move into the future, we're able to fund our own repairs to infrastructure and not have to essentially borrow more or be on the hook for things, that we can build up a savings account or a reserve for infrastructure replacement and repairs. Councillor Peterson, Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. When I look at page 16 on this document here, it shows that we're projecting an excess or a surplus, I believe, of $692,000 for the utility department. Is that correct? And that's after we've transferred into reserves, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so when we say that we're, doing full cost recovery, we're actually doing full cost recovery plus an extra $692,000, aren't we?
That is correct.
Okay.
So the $692,000 is going towards the funding of the town. If we did not have that, we would have to increase taxes by that amount.
Right, okay.
The thing to realize on this increase, the $1.50 represents approximately $92,500 additional dollars into reserve.
Okay. So when we make a motion, for instance, so where we say to increase, so that, I guess, so by increasing, we're going to be putting another 90-something thousand over and above what we would normally put into reserves by increasing this fee?
That is correct.
Okay.
Currently, the fee is set at $6.
Yeah.
And the recommendation is to move that fee to $7.50. The increase would be for the $1.50, 25 cents for each of the water, sewer, and garbage, and then 75 cents for storm sewer,
Okay.
for a total of $1.50.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that like I'm speaking accurately, because I've been telling people that, we're increasing, their utility fees, for instance, in order to make sure we're fully recovering the costs. And that's why I was kind of surprised to learn that it seems like we're recovering it plus an extra almost 700,000.
What you need to understand is we do about 10-point-something million dollars a year in utility sales.
Yeah.
The 500,000 can evaporate overnight with a real wet summer season. We could be off by $500,000 at a drop of a hat. It's not that much.
Sorry, can you explain the wet summer part?
If town residents do not water their grass in abundance, if we do not have an average or a dry year.
Oh, you're saying if they buy less water, essentially?
If they
Okay.
buy less water, the $500,000 could evaporate on us real quick.
Okay. Very good, Mel, very good. I set you up for that one, eh? All right, yeah, thank you. Thanks for working with me, Mel.
So thank you. Just a reminder too, this council's working really hard to try to come up with a budget that's going to be the least impact on residents. But we also need to look at trying to improve the situation of the town into the future. And this is one of the things that's a small increase to people, but it's a lot less than looking at any kind of property tax. So we do need to keep the town moving forward. So we have a motion on the floor. Any more discussion on that motion? I think everyone understands it. All in favor? Jennifer, is Councillor Bauer online on Zoom or anything?
No, not for 2 hours.
Oh, okay. All right. So then the motion is carried. Thank you. We can go on to the next item then.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is franchise fees. And council authorized franchise fee rate for natural gas to be adjusted to 35%, as we discussed in our presentation.
Councillor Peterson?
Your worship, I would move that council authorize the franchise fee rate for natural gas to be adjusted to 35% and that this change be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks and that the CAO be authorized to make application for the revision of the natural gas franchise fee rate with ATCO Gas.
Thank you. And now that we have that motion on the floor, is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Corbeil?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. I can't find it right now. What is it at present? Like, what percentage are we right now?
We are at 29.6%.
Okay, thank you very much.
And 35% is the maximum, right? Maximum
is
allowable. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay, and Your worship, just in discussion for the public, just to review this, maybe we could have our Director of Finance just go over the cost per month on an average 115 gigajoule per month home, just to renew that for the public relevant to this cost increase. Because it looks substantial, and it is, but costed out over the course of a year or a month by month might be more useful.
The annual cost increase, or the monthly cost increase on average is $2.30 for the average homeowner that uses 115 gigajoules. So that's a broad range average. One of the things that was pointed out earlier in this meeting was that 10% of our properties within the town are non-tax paying. However, they receive services from the town, and this is our only opportunity to recover some of our cost of operations from those organizations. So those organizations, by and large, are provincially operated. They are schools, by the most part. There are other exempt properties, such as churches, but by and large, most of it's the hospital, all the schools, and the seniors lodge. So this is our only way of receiving revenue from those properties.
Thank you for that clarification. So we currently have a motion on the floor. Is there, oh, Councillor Montgomery has more?
Thanks. I just wanted clarification. So that's 115 gigajoules per year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion points? So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And the motion is carried unanimously. And the next council item?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next one is planning and development, that council direct administration to prepare a report regarding the implementation of a cost recovery model for planning and development. So really, you're just directing the administration to do some research and come back with a recommendation. There's no impact on the budget in 2021. This is just a start to look at whether this is feasible or not and bring a report back to council.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery?
I will move that council direct administration to prepare a report regarding the implementation of a cost recovery model for planning and development.
Thank you for that motion. Now that you have a motion on the floor, is there any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried. The next item?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next item is the hub, and the recommendation is that council instruct administration to discontinue the hub program as it is currently known, and that council direct administration to explore alternative delivery models for youth programming.
Thank you, Mr. Legore. Councillor Sobel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council instruct administration to discontinue the hub program as it is currently known, and that council direct administration to explore alternative delivery models for youth programming.
Thank you for the motion. Is there any discussion? Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I know that one of the things that we discussed around this through the CAO was that we would do some kind of agency overview. And when I say agency, I'm not talking about service delivery systems, but the agency that we have in terms of all the things that we have. And you talked about doing an overview of that. Is there opportunity, do you, later on in this meeting, to make a motion to that? And might there be a cost around that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is our intent, that we're going to look at all agencies that can deliver youth programming and how do we work together so that we're not overlapping, duplicating, etc. And we want to make sure we have a good, clear understanding and at the same time try and identify what we think is needed for youth programming. That's what we're talking about when we explore alternative delivery models. We want to make sure that we're getting the best programs out for youth throughout all organizations within the community.
So one of the things, I don't know how to say this or how to move a friendly amendment in this, but looking to be able to provide an overview in terms of our resource management. So looking at everything that's out there, what are all the resources available to youth in the community and how effectively, do we work on those together or manage those together? And I think there's lots of willingness on the parts of all those service delivery groups and methodologies now to do that. But I would like to see it reflected here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is our intent, is that we're going to look at all resources. We could make a separate motion just before we, or at the time we adopt the corporate plan during the regular council meeting if you want.
Could we just add on to the end of this motion that council direct administration to explore alternative delivery models for youth programming through conducting an agency review or a service review? Well, I don't know what the best language would be.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be a friendly amendment, subject to the mover. It would be
Councillor Sobel?
satisfactory.
I don't have an issue with it, but I'm thinking that this does it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I know that our CAO has spoken to the intent, and I am comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose it. Just in the tenuous nature of our being now, I don't want to lose the capacity to go out and really look at all the resources that we have available to us in this community and how we can masterfully set something in place.
What if we just inserted the word all between explore and alternative? Would that work, or did you want to?
I guess my concern.
Because we want it all in
What I want to capture here, sorry, I'll defer to the CAO, Your Worship.
Mr. Legore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what we might do is explore alternative delivery models, including identifying all resources available in the community for youth programming.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm good with that, Your Worship, as the
Friendly amendment?
amendment.
Thank you. So I just wanted to make a comment that I want to reassure the public that the town is not walking away from what it feels is a responsibility to try to make sure there are programs for the youth. A couple of us have been on an older version of the youth club board, so we realize the importance of it, but it's also become an incredibly costly program. And if there are, as Mr. Legore said, if there are other agencies that can deliver programming and do it in a very good situation for our kids and youth, that's something that we do need to explore. Councillor Sobel, or Councillor Corbeil, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I'm absolutely in support of this motion. I don't want to compete against agencies that we already have. It's kind of a waste of money or whatever. Just filling the gaps is completely what we're doing. And yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, that's where I was going with the hub. We're not completely getting rid of it. It's just reevaluating.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, I might add that we are trying to deliver programs right now as much as we can within the COVID restrictions, but we are trying to make sure that we're still trying to deliver a program for the youth.
Thank you, Councillor Corbeil. Mr. Legore, Mr. Simpson, are you just lit up? Councillor Sobel and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you, and thank you for that comment. That's encouraging. I know this is, I don't want to call it an emergency item, but it certainly should be looked at as a priority. So the question that I have in this regard is how long do you think we're looking at before a report will be back to council on this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to be discussing that with our Director of Corporate and Planning Services today, but unfortunately he came in contact with someone that tested positive for COVID. So he's now in isolation, awaiting test results. But our intent is to do, this is a priority.
Thank you.
That's what I should be saying.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also wanted to point out, just for the public's information, if maybe someone could speak to one of the big reasons why we are discontinuing the hub program is also because of the building itself. So could we...
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Cox, as I stated in my opening comments, there is public health and safety concerns with that building, and it's not a good facility to be putting people in. And we're looking at other facilities, and I think that's part of, let's look at what we got for resources in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we do have a motion on the floor concerning the hub. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried.
Going on to the next one, Mr. Mayor, Growing Family Society. They recently presented to council. Recommendation is council enter an MOU or MOA with the Growing Family Society. It includes grant funding to society for the following annual amounts. 2021, $34,100. And then there's an amount there for 2022 and 2023.
At this point, we just need to worry about 2021?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Are any councillors prepared to make that motion? Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, I would move that council enter into a memorandum of agreement with Growing Family Society that includes grant funding to the society for the following annual amounts. Should I just move 2021 or all three of them?
You can include all three.
Yeah, I'll include, so 2021, $34,100, 2022, $35,123, 2023, $36,177.
Thank you for the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously.
Next one, Mr. Mayor, is the Standard Shoe Store building. recommend that council accept the proposal from the Downtown Cultural Group to enter into a partnership for the operation of the standard building for 5 years that includes funding for the taxes and utilities. And I can speak to it a bit when it gets moved by someone.
Thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Worship. I move the council accept the proposal from the Downtown Cultural Group to enter into a partnership for the operation of the standard building for 5 years that includes funding for the costs of taxes and utilities.
Thank you for the motion. Mr. Legore, did you want to speak
Through you,
again?
Mr. Mayor, the owners of the building, Ron and Kelly Warwick, have very graciously offered to put this forward at zero cost themselves if someone would lease it in the town to step forward. We'll have the lease. Met with them just less than 2 weeks ago to talk about it further. And it will become a storefront for nonprofits in the community. It'll have a huge impact for the downtown business community, and it'll also have a huge impact for the community as a whole. It's a great opportunity, and we should not lose sight of it, and we've got a chance to move forward on it.
Thank you for that, and I want to echo that. We want to thank Ron and Kelly Warwick for bringing this to us and for Councillor Sobel for getting involved. The energy that it's going to bring to downtown, because there's going to be groups there in the evenings, and one of the largest concerns about downtown is things tend to be closed down after about 5 p.m. So this is going to bring some energy to our downtown core, and it helps to save a beautiful old building on our main street. So we have the motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor? And that motion is carried.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next one is the Strathmore Legion snow clearing. Recommend the council accept the request from the Strathmore Legion for sidewalk snow clearing for information. And I want to make it clear that if council passes that motion, that means that we will not be clearing snow from their sidewalk.
Thank you. Is anyone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Sobel?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'd move that council accept the request from the Strathmore Legion for sidewalk snow clearing for information purposes.
And now that we have that motion on the floor, does anyone want to speak to that or discuss the motion? Councillor Montgomery.
So when I brought forward this request from the Legion, I was also asking, well, I guess I don't know if I asked, but I spoke to it, but can you guys confirm that we do in fact clear the sidewalk from the lodge to the downtown still on the west side of 2nd Street?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know, that request wasn't given to us. I apologize.
No, it was like when we reviewed the snow policy, I think it was 3 years ago at the beginning of our term, one of the things that we asked to be put in there was to have the sidewalk cleared. And I just wanted to find out if that was actually written down in the policy or if it was just something that was
I know the
spoken to.
policy on snow will be coming forward to council on December 18th. So
Oh, okay.
it'll be a good
Okay.
time for that question. We'll be able to answer it then.
Great, thank you very much.
So if this motion was passed then, as far as information, once your report comes back to us as far as snow clearing, we could revisit this again, could we not?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very
Recognizing
much.
that there is a cost to it, and it's a precedent that you're setting for the community.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And the motion is carried.
The next one, Mr. Mayor, is Community in Blooms, and council, we recommend the council accept the letter from Communities in Bloom for information. Our current policy for parks green strip maintenance currently aligns with what Community in Blooms is asking for. And we recommend that you receive that for information.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Corbeil?
I move the council accept the letter from Communities in Bloom for information.
Thank you. And is there further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? And the motion is carried.
Next motion, Mr. Mayor, is the Ag Society water meters. Recommendation is that council instruct administration to prepare a report for council's consideration regarding the installation of water meters at the Strathmore Agriculture Society grounds. And this is just an investigation. It's not a direction to do it. We want to make that very clear, that we're just looking at, is it possible, how many places there would be meters, et cetera. Bring that forward to council.
Thank you for that clarification, councillors.
Sure.
Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council move I move that council instruct administration to prepare a report for council's consideration regarding the installation of water meters at the Strathmore Agriculture Society grounds.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next one is the Town Hall property disposition, and the recommendation is the council instruct administration to initiate survey and subdivision of the town property located at 680 Westchester Road, Block 2 Plan, and that council instruct administration to contract a commercial realtor for the disposition of the Town Hall building, land and building upon the subdivision of 680.
Just procedurally, can that be in one motion then, or do they need to be?
It can be in one motion,
Okay,
or you can
thank you.
separate it if you so desire. Mr.
Thank you
Mayor.
very much. Councillor Montgomery, did you? No, Councillor Cox. I thought I saw your light.
Sure, I can move it and then discuss it. Thank you. I move that council instruct administration to initiate a survey and subdivision of the town property located at 680 Westchester Road, Block 2, Plan 8410094. And also that council instruct administration to contract a commercial realtor for the disposition of the town hall land and building upon subdivision of 680 Westchester Road. Can I add a friendly amendment? If possible, could we be using local for both of those two things?
What would be the procedure as far as that, Mr. Legore? Does it have to go into an RFP?
We would do an RFP, and you can't really put a local preference in there. You know, we'll certainly try and do it as best as we can, but, and they certainly have the advantage because they know the market, they know the property, et cetera. They know the opportunities.
Thank you.
So then a question to Ms. Sawatsky, Jennifer. As far as Councillor Cox's, did you want to withdraw that amendment or the addition to that motion? Okay. Okay, so we have the original motion on the floor, the two-part motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried.
The next one, Mr. Mayor, is the RCMP multi-year financial plan, and our recommendation is that council decline the proposal from the RCMP for the multi-year financial plan due to the current economic conditions.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to that at all, Mr. Legore?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, under current economic times, the town is not in a financial position to support the increased manpower or the increased amenities that they were asking for. However, some of those may come as regulated under a contract with the changes that could occur with RCMP. We recognize that they have needs, but the need is all across the corporation and the community.
Thank you for that. Councillor Sobel.
Thank you. I would move that council decline the proposal from the RCMP for the multi-year financial plan due to the current economic conditions.
Thank you for the motion. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the next two we would deal with during the regular council meeting, and I want to thank council for their support on this corporate financial plan that we presented tonight, and I especially want to thank your management team that's sitting here for all their hard work on it. This was not an easy task with the current restraints that we're under, and I really appreciate the work that they put into it and the support they give to it.
Thank you, and I would like to thank you too, just individually, but if council wants to as well, they can. Your management team has done a great job on holding the line and keeping the tax increase at zero, should it be passed tonight. And I think it recognizes the fact that the economic times are really tough right now and that people are struggling. We're all struggling with this COVID-19 situation. And I really appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. Councillor Corbeil?
Thank you, Worship. I also want to extend my most sincere gratefulness for everything. You know, I know this doesn't really align with our long-term financial plan, but this is different times, and I really am thankful that staff recognized that. This is one of the first ones that I have one not had a million questions on, or, but I actually felt involved in the process, and I really, really liked this year's budget process. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So Jennifer, Councilor Montgomery.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank all of you as well. As I said, this is the best budget process I've been through so far, and it was nice that it was streamlined and to the point, and thank you very much.
Thank you. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to come out of committee of the whole, and then a motion to adjourn. No? Okay, thank you. So we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councillor Cox to adjourn at 6:28. All in favor? And then we will resume the regular public meeting at 7 PM.